My spirit was showing me that she was fighting for us, even to her last moment of dying. Her face showed me that she was fighting to stay,
to be here
for us. Hello there, and welcome to the Counselor's Kitchen, where the food is therapy and the kitchen table is safety. We want to have a conversation today, so we've got just the spot for you right here at the kitchen table, where we talk about life and everything it has to offer. So pull up a seat and join the conversation right here at the Counselor's Kitchen table. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Counselor's Kitchen Table podcast. I'm your host, Davion Lewis, and I'm here with a brother of mine, just a great, awesome man. And he is going to be our co-host and my interviewer today. Today we're going to be talking about my story, so it's going to be a little bit different. So I have my friend here. He's going to be our guest host. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Antonio Albright. Again, I'm the owner, social media personality, DJ personality, church enthusiast. Again, Antonio Albright. Father, kids, exclusive talk radio. I definitely didn't want to do some name drops, but you're gonna get the exclusive today. Definitely owner of exclusive talk radio. So make sure you tap in and tune in. We have 24-hour radio going all day long that stretches out not just in America but across the globe. So we display artists from all genres, from hip hop to R&B to even gospel music. We have some spinning on the station. Awesome. So definitely make sure you hit that follow, make sure you hit that like and subscribe as well. Exclusive Talk Radio is here with the Counselor's Kitchen table.
Yes, long time coming.
Glad to be here, man.
Yes, okay. So like I said, the show's gonna be formatted as always. This is the premiere of season 2, which I'm excited and elated about. You guys have been asking, emailing, DMing, all that good stuff. I know it's literally been over a year. The last episode was released, I think, October 21st, 2020. So it's been out literally over a year. Also, this is my birthday episode. Happy birthday to me. Thank God. Bless God. You guys can bless me in the Cashapp if y'all want. TCKTABLELLC. That'll be linked in the description of the video as well. You guys want to be a blessing, I appreciate it. But again, I've been so busy with catering and life and just focusing full throttle on my career and other things like that. So I appreciate y'all for sticking in with me, tuning in with me. One young lady tells me she's listened to the entire podcast at least 6 times.
Wow.
Because just the meat of the information. So of course, this season we're going to be doing some things a little bit differently. I wanted to introduce the concept. And this episode is called This Is My Story because I'll be doing just that, telling my story. Last season we focused on a lot of concepts, things like wealth building, relationships, growth, your growth as a male, your growth as a female, and how those things look. We talked about kids, parenting, we talked about a wide variety of topics last season. This season we want to take a more personal touch, so we are actually diving into stories. And you guys know, based off of the description of this podcast, everyday people need to connect with everyday people. I'm an everyday person. Although I am a personality, I'm a podcast host and that sort of thing, I'm a regular person. I'm an everyday person. And hopefully my story can be a blessing to you all. So we got some great people. A brother of mine who's been through the penitentiary system, he'll be in to tell his story. A young lady of mine, a friend of mine who's dealt with molestation and sexual abuse, she'll be in to tell her story. Another friend of mine who's dealt with drug addiction, she'll be in to tell her story. I have a friend of mine who's dealt with being married young and having to adjust his lifestyle for marriage, and he'll be in to tell his story as well. So we've got a wide variety of topics we're going to be talking about. And it'll all be very personal, story driven. So this is my story, and I have my guest host here. He's going to be interviewing me to help me tell my story to you all. Okay, so let's get started. As always, it's formatted: word of the day, food for thought, and takeaways. So we're going to run in with our word of the day. So what's our word of the day, Tony?
Our word of the day is tenacious.
All right.
Tenacious.
Okay.
with the meaning of holding fast, characterized by keeping a firm hold.
Right, you can look at it.
You got like a tenacious grip. You know, got that grip of the arm. Tenacious of an old habit. It's real strong. You can't just. It's highly retentive. It's always right there on the front of the mind. You know, so again, a tenacious memory. Tenacious. When you think of that, it's like persistent.
Yes.
In existence. So it's gonna constantly.
Yeah. Constantly
be there to push. So it's not easily dispelled. It's not easily just pushed off. Again, being the forefront of the thought.
Yes.
Another written down note: adhesive or sticky. Tenacious could be vicious.
Yes.
Gluttonous. Much of.
Yeah.
Now, you know, cohesiveness.
Yes.
Holding together. Not easily pulled asunder. You know, so
absolutely
tenacious.
I relate to all of those words, and especially as it relates to my story, which we'll dive into the deeper parts in just a minute. But many of you know I lost my mom back in 2018. So at this point in time, that word just kind of really encompassed my entire parameters of life in that time, both the negative and the positive portions of the word. Because tenacious has both positive and it's neutrally connotative as a positive connotation and a negative connotation. With the positives, you know, if you are a tenacious person, you're gonna always push through. You're gonna always find a way to get to the other side. You're never gonna give up. You're never gonna let loose.
You're gonna fight your way through it.
You're gonna fight your way through it, and you're gonna grip that thing, and you're gonna hold that thing. And I think about sometimes when I hear that word, I think about Jacob wrestling the angel, and he was like, until you bless me, I ain't letting go. and that's literally what that was my life in some parts and in other parts. That negative side is sometimes you can hold on to things for too long, and especially that season taught me so much about people, about places, things, attitudes, mentalities, and all that kind of stuff. And it really, some of those things I continued to hold on to even after my deliverance out of those moments. And of course, you see the trajectory. You when God shows you where something is going, or where somebody's going, or where their intentions are, or, you know, you gotta listen to that instinct. Otherwise, you continue to hold on, you might fall in a ditch you don't want to be in, and probably can't get yourself out of
something that wasn't not meant for a season.
Exactly. So, you know, I experienced all of that and more in that season of losing my mom and going through that emotion and going through that grief. And so we'll dive into it. But that word tenacious describes me because in the good of it all, I held on and I held through. You know, it would have been so easy for me to lose my mind, lose my life, lose my, you know, because it was a season of tremendous loss to me. So that wasn't the only thing I lost, which we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. But it was just a tremendous season of loss, and it felt like every time I would dig, I get deeper in it, you know. And so but I held on through.
You held on through. But before we get into that, I want to know Davion Lewis growing up.
Yeah. So me growing up, I'm the youngest of 4 boys by my mom. My dad, on the other hand, I'm the oldest of his, God knows how many children.
That you know of.
That I know of, I want to say about maybe 14 or so that I know of. But who knows? But either way, so I'm kind of in like a very weird dynamic place where I have the youngest as far as my growing up, my upbringing. I live with mom, so I was the youngest of that household, but I also have a bare responsibility of being the oldest child to my father's children. So I'm kind of in a weird dynamic. It's such a unique place to be because, you know, I couldn't be, no, I didn't get my way all the time. No, I didn't, you know, I wasn't able to trick the system. You know, my mom was easier on me than she was on the rest of my brothers in some regard.
How so?
I mean, in some regard, as far as like, honestly, I couldn't even tell you 100% because she was rough on me. But it maybe not in as much regard of
whoopings and.
No, I got.
No, you got them.
Especially when I didn't even. Yeah, I got them. But I mean, just easier in the regard of, I guess, kind of being involved. No, I wouldn't even say being involved with my life. More so, we had a bond, and our bond was spiritual. So she was in church. We were all raised in church, you know, and so that was my desire, and I expressed desire of being involved in that. And so I think with that desire came a little bit more ease, but not much, but just a little bit more ease. Where my brothers, you know, they kind of didn't express that desire all in, and like I say, it's in us all, but to walk it out is something I chose to do. I chose to walk it out. So there was more contention, I guess you could say, between those two different elements. And so I guess she was a little bit easier on me because she knew that I had already had a path that I was ready to walk. Yeah, and walk through. So, but with that being said, yeah, I still got the whoopings growing up, plenty of them. With like I say, with ones that I didn't even deserve. I thought I deserved, but I just took it. And you know, with that being said, growing up, I kind of had always been just that tenacious individual, that one that just kind of pulls through and pushes through no matter what. We've been through a lot of things in our life, coming from a 1-bedroom apartment in Broadway Square, going from that to moving into a 4-bedroom house. You know, it's a bit of like a Cinderella
She's
story.
A strong woman.
Yeah, if you think about it, very strong woman. She really poured that into me, pushing through no matter what. You know, I mean, we knew we were poor, but we didn't know how poor we really was. You know what I mean? Because she always had a plan. She always had a hustle. She always had something going. And so she was very tenacious, and that's something that I really 100% got picked up right from her. So you know, that's just kind of me growing up. Wasn't really into much. I've always been very much into artistic things, singing, things like that, cooking.
So when did the love of cooking come about?
That came about probably in my early years, probably around 6 or 7.
Okay. Were you whipping it up in the kitchen? Did you burn the noodles first?
I really don't think I've ever really burned anything. I don't. Now, I remember the first time I had a scare, microwave, of course, foil in the microwave, but I wasn't the one that exploded the microwave. That was my older brother, Ken. The microwave blew up. I saw the shock and I just stopped it. You know, I was like, oh, no.
let me get it up out of here.
Something right like that. But other than that, I don't think I've ever burned anything. I remember the first thing I probably ever made was like pancakes and eggs and stuff like that. I would cook breakfast and stuff like that. My stepdad, I would cook breakfast sandwiches and stuff. You know, so I just started cooking, and once I started, it was like I couldn't stop.
You couldn't stop.
So that's where the passion first came from. But yeah, like I say, growing up, had a great childhood. Loved every bit of it. Had lots of good friends, and you know, I was just that kid that just was different. But in that difference, everybody was attracted to that difference, and so to this day, I mean, I got people that still hit me up, man, remember when you used to preach, remember when you used to do this, remember when you used to do that, you know, and it just is what it's always been in me, you know.
And when the Spirit's in you, you know, when the light is on you and and He's in you, and it shines, there's no way it can be dimmed down. You know, so just continue to shine and let others see that light, because in the time of darkness, when you come across a timeline, you know, when it comes across their, you know, in their presence, it's for that moment needed in that specific time. So man, keep that light shining. That tenacious spirit, man. Yeah. Do you think you're born with it, or is it something that you're taught?
I definitely think that we all have to have some learned behavior. And I think there are very few things that we're just born with. In regard, we're born with even the very instincts we develop. We talk about in one of my favorite episodes of the podcast, Save Our Children with Dr. Arnetta Murray, we talked about trauma and how that trauma helps us build instincts. And those instincts teach us how to respond to everything that comes across our table in life. And all of those things are developed by the time we're 6 or 7 years old. You see what I'm saying? So very few things that we're just born with and have that natural ability to do. We learn how to do everything. Now there are things that I believe that lie dormant in us, and then until those switches, those light switches come on, then we can operate in them. But as far as that tenacious spirit, I think that that's just something that was just poured into me. And a lot of it came from watching my mom, watching how she moved, how she operated. And some of those things came from, the desire at a young age to really push through some of the struggles that we've endured in life. Because I saw us struggle. Of course, I was a part of that struggle, so I was in the struggle with everybody in the family, right? And there were some things that I said I'm just not going to put up with. And so that desire in life. So
with being the youngest, you was able to also see the mistakes of, what to do, what not to do, and learn. If this one and this one and this one, maybe I saw a lot of things and a lot of failures and all that kind of stuff, and it's okay. That's life. Our perspective helps us to deal and to navigate in the confines of whatever failures we experience in life, be it our personal or what we look for somebody else, right? And so that was my thing, is that there was a lot of things that I seen, a lot of things, behaviors. I said, no, I'm not dealing with that. That's not for me. And so I made it my point. I asked God help me through it, and ever since then I've always had that tenacious spirit to just keep pressing, keep pushing, no matter what. Because I done been through some things, so no matter what. So that's that. I believe that's where it comes from. What was getting into those things? What would you say was one of the most difficult hardest obstacles that you had to be tenacious about and push through?
Right. So as I stated earlier, my mom's passing back in 2018. That was just one of the hardest experiences I've ever had to deal with, ever had to go through. And a lot of people, again, have never heard my rendition of that, because it's something that I kind of kept in, kind of held on to, being that tenacious nature to just hold it together, no matter what, just hold on. And so that's one thing that was the hardest thing to endure. One of the main things was because I, as the youngest, I found her deceased. And so, like I say,
and we're talking about your mother.
My mom, So many people don't know, everybody knows that I found her, but many people don't know just literally how that whole situation transpired. Because, like I said, I'm just not one of those that's just going to run my mouth to everybody, because, I'm not that type of person.
How old were you when you found your mom?
So that was 2018. I'm 26 now. This is 21. So I was, 22, 23? 23? Yeah, 23. Yeah, well, 22 going on 23, because I had turned 23 yet. Yeah, that was September 2nd. So my birthday is in November. My mom's birthday is November the 12th, which is 2 days before mine. Okay, so I know we're celebrating today with her birthday, November 12th. And so we were 2 days apart. We were just very much alike, very close in nature. And so that day, I had woken up. I was just kind of chilling out and spacing out, trying to get my last few minutes of sleep in.
Before we get into that day, the night before. So I'm assuming that is September 22nd. So that's
September 2nd. So that was the first.
That's a Sunday morning. So Saturday night.
Talk about that. Okay.
Let's talk about that night with your mom.
So Saturday night, or let's just say Saturday. That morning. Now, at that time, it was our family reunion weekend, because we celebrate Labor Day weekend, or whatever, Memorial, whatever that is. Labor, Memorial, one of these weekends, whatever that is in September. So we celebrate that first week. And so it was our family reunion weekend. that night we were all scheduled to be there at main event over on 45 South, for that day, just to enjoy it, have a good time, and celebrate. So with that in mind, that morning, I remember my aunt was living in the apartment at the time, so it was her and her 2 girls. I was sleeping on the couch. I had just moved back home because I had lost my job doing car sales, and so I couldn't afford to live on my own anymore, so I moved back in, and I'm sleeping on the couch. Now, this is my furniture, but I'm sleeping on the couch. I just bought this bed. I put it right in the room and went right on the couch and went to sleep because I was like, I can't do these like this. She got 2 girls. I can't just. So,
sometimes you may ever do feel that way. That's my bed though.
That's all
right.
I
got you.
So, my aunt had woken up too. I think she had to go to work. At that point in time, she didn't have a vehicle. She asked my mom. She said, hey, can you take me to work? I don't know where the breakdown in communication was. My mom was ready to take her to work, but she ended up catching an Uber or Lyft or whatever. And so she came back in. She was frustrated. So, of course, it's the first of the month, which is a Saturday. We got to pay rent. We had already had that discussion, and that sort of thing. So we kind of just chilled about the day. It was a real chill day. Around 4-ish.
Y'all went to, y'all was able to go?
Well, yeah, I'm getting right there. So around 4-ish, she came. I was asleep on the couch. And she came in the living room and gave me a big old hug. And while I was laying on the couch. And I turned around, and she was like, get up, give me a hug. I said, okay. All right. I get up, I give her a hug. So then she was like, are you ready to go? You want to go to the main event, or you want to stay here? Because I don't know what I should do. All right. I said, well, I don't have no money right now. So, but I really don't need to play and all that kind of stuff. I can just go and chill. She was like, yeah, I guess that's what I was thinking. So she said, well, give me a few minutes, get dressed, we'll go. So she texted, my uncle and other people, just making sure
that the meetup is still good.
And so we go to main event. It's all right. And so we go to main event. The family's there, majority of the family. Not everybody's made it, but majority of the family's there. And we had a good time. She had a couple of drinks, chilled with everybody. Everybody, just family reunion stuff.
Right.
Had a really good time. That night, we had left. And I think one of my other brothers, I don't think any of my brothers came, honestly. But one of my other brothers, she had wanted him to come and he couldn't or whatever. He was upset. I don't know. So, like I say, it was really just me, her, and then my uncles were there. I don't think my grandmother came. She may have, I don't know. Cousins and stuff like that. And pretty much, I don't think none of my immediate family was there besides my uncle.
But the family reunion side was there.
Yeah, the other side of the family, yeah. So, everybody got their goodbyes and everything like that. We went home, and so we stopped at McDonald's on the way back. Because that food's expensive. And, we were just talking, and she said, I appreciate you giving, because at the time I was working for the church, making $75 a week, doing music ministry and a few other things. So she was like, I really appreciate, you getting your check or whatever. Because that was my check. That was my only income at the time. And I had just barely, maybe about a month or so prior to that, started to sell plates and stuff like that to get my catering off the ground. Because after leaving the car dealership and all that kind of stuff, I wasn't making no money, so I was like, let me go on and cook. So with that being said, she, was my number one cheerleader. I was always doing stuff for her, them at work, and, they were always ordering for me, ordering food, lunches, things like that. So, that getting off the ground, she really pushed.
She was that walking billboard for you.
Yeah, so with that being said, we get home that night. She goes to my bedroom where my aunt is in, and she just stick her head in there. Hey, we made it back. You all right? Because she was supposed to come, you know, my aunt, after she got off work, she chose not to for whatever reason. And so, you know, she just say, you all right, everything good, we had a good time. Goes back in the room, and I don't think I saw her. Well, I think she called me in the room like one last time around 10 o'clock or 11, whatever time it was, before she left to go home and go to bed. You need to take a break? And so after that, that was pretty much my last time seeing her. She went in and checked in for the night. Now, at that point in time, I was talking to a young lady. So we were on the phone for the majority of the night. And it was real weird. So I didn't know if I was dreaming this, but I guess upon recollection, I really realized, okay, that happened. So my aunt had gotten up like in the middle of the night. She had went to the restroom. I think she was like trying to freshen up or whatever. And she came out. And then I was like, okay, that was weird. But she was in there like, I thought the shower was running or something like that. I don't know. I just knew it was like a significant amount of time. And so she came back out. And then after that, I really didn't hear anything. Get up the next morning. So like I said, that next morning, I get up, call my lady friend at the time. You know, I'm just talking with her before I have to get up and go to church. I'm laying on the couch, you know, trying to gather myself. And then I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, it's later. I'm like, okay, well, she ought to be up right now. I don't know why she not up. Let me go on and just
stick my head in.
So I get up, I go over there, open the door, and she's face down, covers over her. The only thing that's kind of hanging out is her right foot. And the light was not on. I said, Mom, get up, time to go to church. Are we going to church or what? And so I didn't get a response. So I'm like, okay, Mom, go on, get up. Still no response. So at that point, I put my hand over her foot just to try to shake her a little bit, and she's stone cold. So at that point I scream, and I'm just screaming because that's all I can do is scream. So my aunt comes out of the bedroom. She's like, what's going on? I said, she's stiff. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, she's stiff. So I think either she or I want to say it was she, gets on the phone, call 911. And there, I think she gives the phone to me, because I had spoken to somebody at some point. Yeah, she had to, no, that's not how it went. So after I screamed, she came out of the room, whatever. Then I ran in the living room because my phone was in there, and I hung up with my phone. I called 911. So they're trying to give me instructions. They're talking about resuscitation. I'm like, no.
You're not really processing too much of nothing right now.
No. I said, she's gone. So they were like, well, can you move her to see? I said, ma'am, she's gone. Just send somebody. So they're like, okay. So I hang up with them. They're sending the ambulance. So then my aunt is making those calls and making her calls to whomever. And so while she's doing that, my whole world is just like spinning.
Because life is still in effect.
Oh yeah. And then, like I said, I have my lady friend trying to call me, texting me, and she ends up calling my best friend at the time and trying to tell him to come over there and see what's going on. And I text her, I said, she's dead, she's effing dead, and just leave me alone right now. And so then she calls my best friend, like I said, send him over there. And of course, tenacious. I'm just the type of person that's trying to hold on, hold it together, and keep it glued So at that point in time, I already knew that my aunt was making calls. That's just obvious. So I went on ahead and so at that point I said, okay, in order for me to hold it together, I'm going to need my covering. So I called my bishop, and again, this was literally minutes before it's time to
Start
church. And I called him and I said, Bishop, Mom's gone, and I need you. And we didn't make much conversation. Okay, give me a few minutes, I'll be there. And God knew exactly what I needed, because in spite of everybody and their mama,
pulling up.
Not even pulling up yet. This is just calling and
and trying to find out what's going on.
Right. And this is before anything is publicized. Like I said, this is just stemming from I knowing at this point my aunt is making calls and all this kind of stuff. So God knew exactly to hold everybody and everything back. Not a single soul showed up before my bishop showed up at my elect levy. And I was very grateful for that, because knowing where I was and just trying to hold it together, I probably would have let somebody have it. So it's just what I needed. And so I was very grateful. I knew that if it was me laying in that bed, she probably would have done the same thing, because just the dynamic of our walk, and so that was my way of trying to be anxious for nothing, but and everything just with him, right? And so I reached, they came, they prayed, set the tone and the atmosphere for the day. Now don't get me wrong, of course I'm still grieving, crying, upset, all that kind of stuff, but right now I'm able to be tenacious. I'm able to keep it together. I'm able to have some integrity to continue through the day. Because I just didn't know how I was going to get through the rest of this day, right? And so they came, they prayed with me, with us, all that kind of stuff, and left.
So before you get into it, was safe to assume before the spirit had to come and consecrate, the environment.
Right.
You was about to lose it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was ready to be done, because I knew what tomfoolery was coming.
Yeah.
And I had always been little brother. I'd always been big little brother, right? Just you keep it together, you're strong, you all that. And so because I knew what tomfoolery was coming, and everybody has a right to grieve the way they need to grieve, want to grieve, and things like that. Everybody's not me. I can't hold anybody to that standard, right? But at the same time, I knew what I needed from me to be tenacious, to hold it all the way together. And so that's what was needed from me, to be able to hold it together. Because anything and anybody else coming at me, I would have lost it.
And it's very important to being connected with God.
Exactly.
Being connected with people of God.
And that set the standard in my honest belief. That action and that me calling in my covering set the action and the tone through the entire process of that moment all the way through the funeral process, right? Because again, the tomfoolery didn't stop there. But that was before it even came. Like you said, I had to stay plugged in. My plug, you know how when you charging your phone at night, that plug starts to slip out the socket, and then the phone ain't charged, and you sitting up there thinking it's charging.
It's draining.
And you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, go use the bathroom, and it's on 59%. You like, what happened? The plug done slipped out a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was just what I needed to put that plug back into place so that I can keep it together.
So as he came.
So yes. Blessed the house, blessed the atmosphere, charged it, and then they left to finish service and close out. So with that in mind, at that point now, of course, after they leave, shortly after, the tomfoolery starts to come. And again, this is not me calling anyone in specific, but remember, I'm talking about a spiritual nature. So there was a lot of spiritual mess going on that I needed to be equipped, covered in, right? And so I think the first one to show up after my bishop and then was my brother. My neighbor was on her way to church, so she just kind of, asked, was everything all right? I told her what happened. She said I was going to pray for y'all, and she kept it going. And I appreciate that. And then, like I say, my brother was the first to come in. He stayed in the same apartment complex, he just stayed in the back. So he got there, and, he was just, a little rough. Yeah. He was losing it, and so I had to tell him, I said, I understand, but you got to calm down, because you can't destroy everything in the process. So after that, he kind of went outside and just everybody kind of hung out. And that was another thing with the shift. Majority of people was hanging out outside. And I was thankful for that. Because I knew what atmosphere was driving away what didn't need to be in. Inside. And so then after that, I believe my grandmother came. And other people started coming. A few people started coming. My best friend at the time came. And like I said, he was losing it. So, and my biggest reservation at the time, because I had lost it initially, right? But then, I prayed, and I asked my cover to come in and pray, and God was keeping me together. But it was hurtful. So holding it together was not comforting by no means to me. Right. Because watching everybody else fall apart, well, I have to keep it together.
Even though you don't want to, you want to be just as rambunctious and let it all.
I want to be just as distraught as everybody else. But I don't even have permission in this moment to be distraught. And I'm youngest child, experienced the discovery, right? So not that it's harder for me than it is for anybody else, but to have to hold it together, comforting other people. So at the time, I had people calling me, asking me to pray for them.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
The biggest one that's hurting.
While I'm direct. But literally, I had a young lady. Oh, it ain't true, is it? I said, yes, ma'am. Oh, you just gonna have to pray for me. I don't know how I'm gonna get through this.
You gonna get through the selfishness,
okay.
But she was tenacious for that one.
she was holding on like glue. I said, okay. So that was my biggest reservation, and like I say, it wasn't nothing personal to any one person in particular, but every single person that came in had an opportunity to fall apart and just be like, okay, catch me.
All right.
You see what I'm saying? And even my best friend at that time, it really did something for me, because I'm like, okay, I understand you was connected, you was close, everything like that.
I need you to really be strong for me right now.
But who is being strong for me right now? Because the answer was absolutely nobody.
Wow.
Absolutely nobody. So that was that day, and just kind of reflecting on that day. And of course, there's more to the story. We'll get into it this week. But
let's go ahead. Before we get into that, when you tell us what you went through as far as witnessing it, have to go through the process of calling, because I'm pretty sure the bishop was connected to her just as much.
Absolutely.
And so for you, an example to come in and not fall apart,
right,
but to be strong.
Absolutely. I appreciate him so much. I appreciate my coverings so much. They're great people, awesome people, and genuine people. And I needed that genuine feel. Because one thing my mom was very genuine. Very, very genuine in nature. And she just was just as real as she could be. You just take her or leave her. That's just who she was. Right? And so to lose that essence, and then to just my spiritual parents to just come right in and say, okay, we got you, we're going to cover you. That was much, like I say, much needed. God knew, because then everything thereafter was not coming to be a shield while the rain was pouring, right? They weren't coming to be an umbrella while the storm was going, right? They were just coming to get under the umbrella, the umbrella that had been set up by, my spiritual parents, because I wasn't the umbrella at that point. I probably wasn't holding the umbrella.
Right.
But I wasn't the umbrella. You see what I'm saying? So everybody's coming to get underneath the umbrella.
Right.
And it was like,
You get clutched.
the rain ain't really catching you like it's catching. You understand what I'm saying? So I went through a lot of deep grief, depression, anxiety, and it was something to have to continue on in a place that felt dead. You know what I mean? It's like the whole, and of course I'm not comparing situations by no means, but in the news locally here, there was a situation where some kids were recovered from an apartment, right? The lights had been off for months, or who knows how long. Parents was gone. There was a dead body in the apartment just sitting there rotting for a year, that kind of stuff. And even though she physically was not there, but just being in that space where something has died around you, and that stigma, that stench, that feel, that it just don't shake. That energy just won't shake for nothing. And of course, me being tenacious, that's the negative part of that, is that's all I could hold on to. Physically being in the same space, that's all I could hold on to was the energy that was pouring out, right? And so I went through a lot of feeling dead inside, feeling like, okay, I'm not getting out of bed today. I'm not, and so it didn't make matters any better. At the time, I didn't have a job. At the time, I didn't have transportation, so it wasn't easy to find a job. All the local jobs around were paying minimum wage, which was nowhere near what I could afford to live off on, right? To cover, right? And so at that particular time, I'll continue on with the story first. At that particular time, we needed to talk about things, because that same day I'm still getting calls. I'm getting calls from my mom's job. I'm getting calls, and this is a Sunday, right? I'm getting calls from life insurance people. I'm getting all the same day. I'm getting calls from God knows who, know how they got my number. I mean, I'm just getting calls, right? Non-stop calls, text, non-stop, okay? And so much so that I wanted to just shut my phone off or just throw it, right? Just leave me alone. But I couldn't. Everywhere I turned, there was somebody in my face, right? So I had to hold it together.
So what helped you through that to actually get through?
I mean, only, and it sounds cliche, but only Him, really. The Lord was really holding me together. Because when I tell you, I was ready to just let everybody have it. Because during that time in her life, and of course, I'm not perfect either, but during that time in her life, her last moments, she was being used a lot. Used a lot. Just sucked dry. And it was hurtful to watch, but
because of her spirit was so giving, so loving. It was abused.
It was hurtful to watch, but it was also hard to kind of acknowledge and just really head on say, okay, you know what I mean? You're not really. So
that's my family,
absolutely. And so a lot of people, of course, even then didn't know everything that was going on, and so to just watch the actions of people in that moment and in that time, it bothered me. But like I say, He held me together. So let's fast forward through now, maybe 2 or 3 days, or maybe the next day, I don't know, later. And after having received so many calls and all this kind of stuff, my objective, my agenda, because I'm tenacious, and because in that you have you're very structured. Right, it's systematic, structured. That's me, right? So because of that, my headspace now is what's next. Because what I can't do is I can't sit in it. Because if I do, my nature, I'm never going to let it go.
And mental health is a big thing.
Yes.
Especially it's real slipped on in the African American community. Be strong. Look.
keep God on your side and keep it
Everything
going.
will be all right. No. So I was like, I need to get some stuff moving, because if not, I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah.
Not just physically, like in the apartment.
So-
like I'm
so
literally
that-
gonna stay here.
That night, that Sunday night,
Yes.
you
Oh,
were able
I
to sleep
slept.
in that same.
I wasn't able to get much sleep, but I slept the best I could. You know, let's push back. 'Cause like I said, there's a lot to unpack. Let's push past, because I wasn't able to get much sleep. Fast forward the next day or 2 days later, I can't remember. So I'm in a headspace of let's
Keep moving.
make a plan. Let's
Yeah.
get a plan together. Let's see what's next. I didn't know anything about her financials. I didn't know anything about her life insurance. I didn't know anything about wills. I didn't know anything. And that wasn't even on my mind. It was just more so of physically here where I have to
go.
exist.
Yeah.
Let's come together as a family and try to do something. So what I did was I cooked. Because even though I wanted to be alone, I also I didn't want to start doing anything by myself. So I asked everybody to come with just the intentions of let's eat, let's have a good time, let's comfort one another, but also let's put a plan in place. Right? So I did all that cooking, invited everybody. Absolutely no one showed up. No one. Not even my brother who lived in the same apartment. I mean, nobody showed up. Right? So the next day, because I'm having to give food away, because I literally cooked up a storm, thinking my family was getting ready to come in and just
Eat it up and dwell.
just do what she needed to do at
Yeah.
least. You
Enjoy
see what
each
I'm
other.
saying? No, nobody showed up. So the next day, everybody shows up. Because not even my aunt shows up. I think she slept somewhere else and everything. Like I was by myself. So the next day, everybody showed back up. Of course, at this point in time, food gone and all that kind of stuff. So I'm starting to just I get a pen and notepad, and I'm just asking everybody, okay, can we talk about what's next? What are we gonna do? What's going on? What's next? Because you know, she's got clothes, she's got things here, she's got all this stuff, and I just need to figure out what we are gonna do as a family to make this process move along, right? It explodes. I'm talking about to the point to where my brother's getting in my face, and my mom, my grandmother's popping off at the gums, telling me she can't stand the way I look because I look just like my mom. I mean, just
A lot of past traumas. Just
everything just
starting
started
out.
exploding. Who do you think you are? And who told you to do this? And I'm like,
Or we can't just sit here and do nothing.
I can't sit in. Y'all can sit in it all day long.
Yeah.
I can't sit in it. Because if I sit in it, I'm going to be stuck here. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm just kind of breaking down the process of how all of this happened, right? And so just for you to, for especially for the listener, to be able to see the process and just the train that got me to the station, right? I'm literally trying to cry out to y'all and let y'all know we got to start moving some stuff around, because if not, I'm going to be stuck.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only one that has to deal with
Everything.
the remnants of everything else in here.
Yeah. The smell, the
Everything.
everything.
The furniture, everything. Because I live here.
Yeah.
My name's on this lease. I live here. So I have to deal with the remnants of everything here. Or y'all get to go to y'all's homes and still cry and still grieve and all that.
But sleep without worrying about what has to happen here.
But on the outside, yeah. So that was my objective that night. It blew up, got ugly, they left. Okay. So at that point, this is maybe 2 or 3 days after she's gone. We go through the rest of the week trying to plan funeral arrangements.
And was this you planning it out by yourself, or was
Absolutely not. I had probably minimal to no part in my mom's funeral whatsoever.
Wow.
So what happened was my brother was power of attorney, my oldest brother, which is perfectly fine. He made majority of those decisions. The thing about it was
I know he came to you and said, "Hey, bro, what you think about this? Think she gonna look good in this?" Or
Yeah. For the majority of the part, what happened was there was like a money situation going on, right? And so, like I had told you all prior, my mom, you know, I had to give my mom a check to help her kind of cover the rest of the rent.
right.
And so I was willing and able to do that. But one day I had went and checked her account at the ATM just to see, because I knew I couldn't do anything. Just to see if the money was at least in there so that I can go online and try to make the payment, right? And it was short. So, don't know how, don't know what happened, but it certainly was not me. I just say it like that. One thing I don't do is steal. And so, you know, when I brought that back to my brother's attention and my aunt's attention, then all of that energy just turned on me. Well, you were the one with the card. Yeah, I went to the card to check the balance so that I can actually pay the rent and to deposit my check, right?
But it all got flipped.
It all got flipped. So, of course, you know, just with the heat of that and everything else, it just was like, and it may not have ever been intentional, but at the end of the day, I was at the house, right? My brother stayed in the back of the complex, right? So we were literally rocked away from each other. Anytime you was hopping in the car to go to the funeral home, it wasn't like it was out your way to come say, "Hey, we get ready to go to the funeral home." So just people would just get up. My aunt would get up in the morning and leave and be gone all day, and they just be joyriding and doing whatever, planning the funeral arrangements, doing this, doing that, doing whatever, and I would just be at home like, okay.
Wow.
So, you know, fast forward to the actual funeral. So the wake and at the time of the funeral, so like I said, I was dealing with a young lady, friend of mine, and she was not very supportive in the way that I needed her to be. You know, she tried her best, but it just didn't work for me because I was so much deeper in it than she could ever understand. You ain't lost nobody like that. You ain't lost a parent, so you can't understand the depth, right? So with that being said, I said, okay, well, this is what we'll do. We'll go ahead and since you can't come and be by my side, that's fine. The day of the wake or whatever, well, let me just back up. The day before the wake, my mom, I had done a locator gig for my mom's job, and they hadn't paid me yet because she passed away in that time frame. So they went on ahead and paid me. So my brothers, who was driving a car at the time, my brother came into town, so he was finally here. They went to her job. They went to go pick up that monies from me. Now, at the time, it was probably only $100 or something like that. I can't remember how much. It wasn't much at the time. That's all that I was expecting because that's all that I knew was coming. So they gave me that money at the day before the wake. The day of the wake, I walk into the church. I'm there. You know, it's at LOC, so it's, you know, how it's formatted. So I'm walking in. So I see my mom's HR lady. And she comes up to me, hugs me, everything like that. She goes, did you get the money? I said, yes, ma'am, I got the money. She said, okay. She said, I hope that extra, you know, was going to help with the rent and everything like that. I said, I didn't get any extra.
I don't know.
And she was like, no, it was about XYZ amount of dollars. Oh, okay. She was like, yeah, I gave it to your brother. Oh, okay. Yeah, and I just kept it right there. Okay. Thanks.
You kept it professional.
Just kept it right there. Went through the wake, sat down, let that sink in, just that casket view and all that kind of stuff, just watch it. At that point in time, you know, I'm watching the crowd too because I'm looking to see who's here. You know, church was full. People were all outside, you know, and that kind of thing. So my aunt did not show up for the wake, for whatever reason. Which I found that to be kind of funny, right? So I kept it going. Later that night, we get home and one of my good friends is dropping me off home, so I didn't have the car at the time. Mind you, nobody in the family offered, hey, you want to ride home? So I get home, and literally as I'm pulling up, my aunt's pulling up in a rental car. And I told her she didn't have transportation at the time. She's pulling up in a rental car, and I'm sitting there watching because my friend is parked in a parking spot, so I can see her, but she can't see me. And I'm sitting there watching, and she pulls up in the rental, get the bags out the car, look like shopping bags from stores and all that kind of stuff, clothes and that kind of stuff. And she goes in the house. And I said, okay, I'll go in the house. I go in the house, and I see the clothing bags and other stuff, right? So I didn't say anything because I didn't already put two and two together in my mind. So Lord, tenacious, hold it together. So I kind of go to bed or whatever. The next day, of course, is the funeral. Same ordeal. Limo. I didn't know anything about the arrangements. The only thing I knew was the actual order of service.
On the program.
Right. And the only reason why I knew that is because the church was responsible for pretty much the order of service. That's the only reason why I knew about the order of service. Other than that,
you probably wouldn't even know about that if they...
Right. They had no clue what was going on. I had no clue then.
Gosh.
So, limousine, all that. I wasn't in the limousine. My friend came to pick me up for the service.
Not even in the family car?
Not in the family car, not in the caravan, nothing. Because I had no clue what the... So, I was so grateful because a sister of mine, Sister Donna Ashley, I'll forever be grateful. Literally, I didn't have a suit to wear or anything. I had no money at the time. And she bought me 3 suits. They had, I think it was either K&G or Suit Mart 1 or 2. They had a special going on. She bought me 3 suits. Boom.
Like that.
Just like that. I mean, God
look out for you, man.
Yeah.
He will look out for those.
So, we go through the funeral, and just as loud as the Spirit could speak to me, he said, honor thy mother. And that's just what it was. So, I came in. I did not want to go down there and look at the casket. I had not seen her face since they turned her over from the paramedics.
Sunday.
I had not seen her face or anything like that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about just the unknowns. I'm just giving the story now. But I went down there finally, and I just looked and said, okay. And I went back up to the stage, and it was time to do praise and worship in there. So the Lord...
And at the same time, you're still praise and worship leader. You're still pushing through. You're still
ministry.
The tenacity, just still. Even though my mama's right here,
It's still ministry. So I went on the stage, and I gave it my all. I said, Lord, use me. And I just left it all on the altar. And, my spirit was happy, but it was also, it felt like I was in a tornado. Like in the middle of, like this, the winds and everything just going all around me. But I'm just in the center of the tornado. And it's just like, I can feel the breeze. I can see stuff flying everywhere. I can, spiritually, I can see things moving. But I'm just stuck in the middle of the tornado. And I'm just like, okay, I'm watching. So, push past the funeral. Yeah, the wake. Not the wake, the repast. And at this point, everybody's in awe, right? Our whole family. Because let me just kind of preface with this. I've never felt truly connected to my family. And even my mom has expressed to me at some point or another, just kind of growing up, she was kind of a little of the awkward one. She wasn't very girly, so she was kind of tomboyish. So she didn't really have a huge place with the ladies, the lady cousins. The boy cousins, of course, she was a girl, so she wasn't really,
hanging out could go out with them.
Exactly. So she was just kind of always in this weird, awkward place, right? And that's just exactly how I felt in all of my family from when I was a little bitty baby.
Wow.
I never felt really truly connected, and just felt it. I never really felt the embrace. Yeah, we have a great family, a big family. We do throw parties and all that, but I've never really just felt 100%
personal
a part,
connection.
yes, of my family. From any points of the family, from the immediate to the outskirts, the cousins, and all. I just never really felt like, okay, these my folks right here.
Yeah.
So everybody's amazed, everybody's in awe. Oh man, you got a calling on your life and all this kind of stuff. I mean, just going on and
Where
on.
was you at when I've been at the calling and I asked y'all to come?
The thing about it is that none of them knew because of the lack of connection. And it's not like it wasn't put out there. It's just not connected enough to me to really understand, right? So I professed my calling and been ordained ministry and all that kind of stuff like that back in 2014, and it's 18, so that's 4 years. I've been preaching, teaching, all that. I've been doing this for 4 years. I've been doing it all my life, but you know, the on paper stuff, I've been doing this for 4 years.
Yeah.
And you realizing it at my mama's funeral, well, bless God, bless you.
Right.
Alright, so after the funeral, I get back home, and that's when, now that I've done what God was kind of filling my little cup up to do, right? I say, okay, now I ain't want to be me all the way, so I'm still saying, Lord, keep me together.
Yeah.
But I say, okay, Lord, now I can get some stuff off of me. Because I'm knowing things about to change. So I asked my aunt, I said, my brother told me he had given you some money for the rent, correct? And I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that, where it's at. Oh, well, my phone bill was due, and girls needed some clothes, and I wanted to rent a car because, everybody's down here, and so we all didn't have no transportation. And again, I didn't go off like I really wanted to, but I didn't. I just said, oh, okay. And left it alone. So that was, like I said, that's the story from being to the funeral. There's more, but there's so much more. Man, two-part.
Had to two-part this. Well, before we have to two-part it, what was life? What was life for you after?
After that experience, the funeral and everything like that.
And how did it change you?
Oh man, it changed me tremendously. One of the main things, like I said before, my mom, she was very used in her last days. A lot of people just taking. I was one of those people in a certain facet as well. I didn't have all my stuff together. Life financially was already crumbling for me because I had lost a job, and I was not able to sustain myself. Just a lot of stuff happening in my life, so I needed to depend on my mom again. But my mom also knew in a great sense that, and we had already been roommates prior, because I had that apartment and things like that. She and I lived together, and so we split bills and all that. So she already knew that if and when I got it,
you'll be able to.
I got it.
You got it.
But at that, I didn't feel so great about just having to depend on her as well. So that's one of the positions that kind of switched gears in my mind and in my life, is that I'm not ready to just be used by anybody. If it ain't by you, Lord, I don't want to be used, because and not only is it not a good feeling, but then to me, and of course this isn't actually what killed her, but it propelled to me her situation of stress and dying from some of that stress. It killed her. I mean, just
being selfless to so many people,
pouring into everybody, being empty, nobody reciprocating her. I mean, it literally fainted her heart out, in my wholehearted opinion. And of course there comes some guilt with that, because people know that it's true, especially the people that were a part of that adventure, right? They know. But the guilt and what will help you acknowledge that and grow from it and change and shift, that doesn't always set in for everybody. Right. It set in for me, but it doesn't set in for everybody. And so with that being said, life after was real hard. So let me progress in the story. After a certain point in time, maybe about a week or so, 2 weeks later after the funeral, one of my really good friends, I pretty much babysat her kids from the very young age. I spent summers with them and all that kind of stuff. So she's originally from California. Her folks are from California. So they kind of commissioned for me to come on out there. So all I had to do was pay for my little plane ticket, and they took care of pretty much everything else.
Wow, that's amazing.
So they're in San Francisco, and I was out there for a couple of weeks and all that kind of stuff. Now, remember, I told you earlier that there was some stigma about money, right? So, of course, you got folks making false accusations. Oh, that money he stole, he done took a trip to Cali and all this, and it's like, no, you just don't understand when the favor of God is on your life, and you're a good person to good people. That comes back to you.
It comes back to you.
So,
man.
you know, that's just what it was. But, of course, I didn't make my case known before anybody, because at that point in time, the one who I absolutely loved and felt like I owed my life was gone. So at that point, I don't owe anybody anything. And that was my mindset at that point in time. Especially with the way people were literally pulling on me after she gone. And I'm trying to hold it together, and I got people pulling on me.
I could see why.
You see what I'm saying?
Rough.
So I said, I'm not explaining myself. Let them think whatever they want. I don't care. So at that point in time, I progressed, went to California. That was the time of my life. I had a great time, so much peace just to get away. And because I'm already knowing that tenacious energy I have to just hold and grip, I already knew that I was coming back to sit in it. So when I came back, but prior to that, I had tried to reason with my aunt, because like I said, she was there at the time, and I wanted to make sure that we could coexist comfortably, right? So I asked her, I said, do you want to move into her room? I will happily switch beds. I'll even move some of the furniture out. I said, but you have 2 girls, you need a bigger space. Do you want to move into there? No, I'm good. Okay. So I let you have my room, my furniture, everything like that. I was sleeping in my mom's room at the time, because I was tired of sleeping on the couch. It was very hard to sleep in a bed. Very hard. I didn't change it. Well, I don't think I changed the sheets or anything like that. Very hard, but I mean, I had to sleep. I didn't want to sleep on the couch anymore. At the time, I had some really nice recliner couches, and he was declining because I was sleeping over my 300-pound butt. You know, so I said, okay, I'm going to sleep in the bed. Got hard. Real hard. It got to the point to where every time I closed my eyes while I was in the bed, she had this face, and that face when I just looked at it.
When the paramedics turned on.
My spirit was showing me that she was fighting for us, even to her last moment of dying. Her face showed me that she was fighting to stay,
to be here
for us. It was just such a stress face, like, I can't leave my boys.
And who you think the us was?
Just all those people depended on her, I guess, at the time. It was so strong, and I couldn't, when I saw that face, I couldn't shake it. That's why I didn't want to see it in the casket. But every time I would close my eyes to go to sleep, that's all I would see. That's it. That's all I would see for hours and hours and hours and hours. So it got to the point to where, you know, the lady that I was with at the time, I would tell her, I would say, just fall asleep first and let me watch you sleep. Let me just look at you sleep.
Keep your vision. Try to keep
So
that vision.
Hold on to something other than this, right?
I know that's
because
pretty hard to see that.
I couldn't keep seeing it. And so even after a while, like I said, it was a toxic relationship, so, you know, things happened or whatever. And when I no longer had her a part of my life, it only made it 10 times harder. So fast forward, like I said, this was prior to California. Me going into California, I asked my aunt, I said, let's have an agreement, let's put it in writing, whatever. This is what we're going to do. Because despite you not giving, despite you not doing the right thing with the money that you were given, that you shouldn't have been given at all.
Let's try to make it right now.
Let's try to fix it now, okay? Because I did what I could. One of my old high school teachers reached out to me. Our church has a rental assistance program. They paid my rent for that month, and I was so grateful for it. But let me get a napkin or something. It should be a roll on that table, I think. Appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So, this was prior to California. I go to California. I leave a little contract on her desk, just saying, hey, I'll pay half, whatever, this, that. Because at the time, I still didn't have a job, but I was willing
to do what you have to do.
Do what I had to do. Do the plates, whatever. And also at the time, my mom's job had given me her old position.
Oh, that's a blessing in itself. Then.
Now, not at the same pay, which means there was still going to be some gray areas, but it was at least enough, more than enough to at least pay the rent and get, the lights paid or something like that. So we were going to, split our differences. So I left her the contract and said, please just, look it over. By the time I get back, let me know your decision. Right. Well, they didn't know how long I was going to go on. So I don't know for sure, can't say, only she can say, but I'm guessing that after I left for California, she left too. Because when I got back,
she was packed up and gone.
I mean, not packed up. She just wasn't gone. But the night I came back from California, nobody was in the house. So I'm literally like, okay.
I'm in this by myself now.
At the time, I didn't know it. I'm texting. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I get a response. So I just waited out. First night, no. Second night, no. Third night, no. And then she was there. She had came back. She was there for a little bit. She would take me to work every now and again, help me out there. For the most part, I was lifting to work every day. And, when I would come home at night, she would be gone. I'd come home after work, she'd be gone. It would be on all that night, So after a while, that was just literally a couple of days. After that, it was gone. He ain't came back at all. I'm really trying to figure out.
She ain't talking about the note that was left on the counter. Ain't trying to bring that back up or none of that.
Nothing. So at that time, I'm like, what's really going on? Fast forward, like I said, that was probably a little beginning of October. She died in September, so that was beginning of October. So all through October, nothing. Right? No activity, no text, no, hey, this is where I'm going to be tonight, nothing. No kind of communication. I get a message from her October 30th saying, hey, we're going to be moved out completely by the 1st, November 1st. So from, like I say, late September all the way to October 31st or 30th, I hadn't received any communication. Then on November 1st, she was packed up and gone. Before she was just gone.
Well, it's official now.
November 1st, she packed up and gone. Don't know where you're going, don't know nothing, no communication about it, just I'm gone. That's pretty much it. So from that point on, that was the last day that anybody physically stepped foot in that apartment. From November 1st, 2018, all the way through March or April when I moved out.
Wow.
And of course, I don't have a car. So I'm literally in there by myself. Because I couldn't get to the job. So I had to let the job go. I couldn't get there every day. It was costing me more in Uber and lifting there every day than what it'd be worth for me to keep the job, right? So I was in the house every day from prior to November 1st, but physically no other person stepped in that house since she left that day. And I was in that house every day by myself, every single day, all day long. Again, only by
all the mental.
Because nobody from that point after the funeral ever reconvened to say, let's figure out what we're gonna do with the clothes. Let's get pictures. Let's
So
figure
you're
this
going
out
through all of that by yourself.
by myself. And had reached out at some point about, okay, are we gonna do something about this?
No communication.
No
back then.
communication.
So at this time, the tenacity, you have to keep pushing through.
I keep pushing through. Don't know how. It's only by the grace of God that my lights were cut off a few times, but I was able to get things going. I was doing some stuff. Man, I would literally switch light companies because originally lights were in her name, so they had cut off, and I was trying to make some kind of arrangement with them. Of course, they wouldn't talk to me because she's deceased and all this kind of stuff. So they cut the lights off, and that same day I had switched the light company to put lights in my name. And I would keep the lights on for so many days, 30 days or whatever, 60 days or whatever. And then when they cut off, I called another company and switched it over to my name. I had to do it because I didn't have any money. Right. I didn't have no money. I don't even know how I was eating. I really don't. I don't even remember eating. Just through that whole time, it was a blur of physically what am I doing. But I was just so stuck. Like I said, the only people that I would have interaction with throughout the entire week would be my church family. I would go to church. That's it. That's all human interaction I would have throughout the week. Because I just had none. I was still in my relationship or whatever, just kind of back and forth, but that ended in about January. So from January to about March or April, I didn't have no kind of connection whatsoever, not even phone calls, right? And so at the time, I was really angry with a lot of people. Very angry with a lot of people.
Put you in a bad headspace.
Put me in a bad headspace with just about everybody I knew and thought I heard the word I love you from.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because, and not anything against my church family or anything like that. They did their best and they tried to, make sure I was eating. And they did what they needed to do as my church family. But just generally, just my family, my people, all that.
The people that normally come to you.
And I'm knowing that lies have been told about me. So I was, one of my brothers took me out for my birthday that very first year after she passed, that November. And he just shouted in the street, man, everybody been telling me that you was doing this and you was doing that. And I'm like, nobody ever called me. Nobody ever asked me. Nobody ever asked for my side.
Right.
It was just stuff being said. So I was very upset with my family, all of my family. It was just really disappointing to know that, because
y'all can communicate
right,
with me,
but
at the time, with everybody else about
me, right? But at the time too, I was the youngest, right? And I feel like when people think that you're at a level of independence in your life, they don't need. You know what I mean? Because you didn't ask. You didn't ask. And everybody in my family at that time knew I didn't have a job. They knew I didn't have a car. And I felt even more hurt because I'm like, why would you leave me, my aunt? Why would you leave me? You firsthand know these things because you're in the house with me. Why would you leave me? Knowing this, you literally it's just like you leaving me to the wolves. You leaving me to fail. That's how I felt. So no help from grandmother, no help from aunt, no help from uncles, no help from pretty much anybody. I was literally just in that place, stuck. So every day was hard because I'm sleeping in her bed. I can't shake the images. I'm in my spirit. I'm feeling pain, heavy, weighted. I'm feeling pains. One night, I rolled back the sheets, and I finally got the strength to just roll back the sheets, right? And this is after going through a hard breakup, after going through, just the job loss, a lot of things. And I rolled back the sheets.
Because a lot of people don't understand. As a male, as a man, that really takes a toll. Like, gosh, like
what do I do?
What's up? What's going
on? Yeah, what do I do? That's all. That's the only question I can keep asking. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? One night I rolled back the sheets. I was like ready to change it or something. Finally, after months of just laying in, the same bedding, the same sheets that she done passed in. I'm laying in, right? Sickening. But one night I rolled back the sheets and I moved the pillow out the way and I undo the pillowcase and I see blood. And I just get so weak and I'm like, oh my goodness. because it's never been really confirmed what she died of, but what I believe in my heart was seizures. She had epilepsy at one point in her life, went away, was dormant for years. She started taking medicine, I think, after a hysterectomy, after some heart surgery or something like that, and that medicine induced seizures. As an epileptic, it's not good. It's like, putting jumper cables on the battery. You know what I'm saying? It's don't charge it up. So, she started having seizures. And of course, months before she passed, I remember leaving work early, going to the hospital, because she at the hospital, and then everybody else leave, and I'm there till 3 o'clock in the morning, waiting on her to get released from the hospital so I can take her back home and make sure she's all right. I mean, it just, that was a cycle. It was a cycle. So, with that being said, I believe she died from the seizure, so I believe the blood came from her biting on her tongue and that kind of thing. And because I never really just watched or paid attention. But of course, now every night I'm laying on these pillows. Right. I've never seen a speck of blood. But now that I can see, I'm seeing blood all on the pillowcase and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I just get weak. And I'm just like, and at that point, that was kind of the point that drove me to start putting some stuff out and moving some stuff and getting rid of the clothes and all that. Like that woke me up a little bit to say, I can't sit in this no more. I can't. Right? Mm-hmm. So, and then, like I say, doing it all with no help. So that was my main thing, is I had to do it all with no help.
But you were able to get the process together.
Get it started, get it rolling, right? And so that's pretty much it. Like I say, no, it changed me in such a way, because now it really helped me. It didn't change my nature, because me and my mom's nature were 2 days apart. Like I said, she's November 12th, I'm November 14th. So my nature didn't change, but the why I do what I do changed tremendously.
It shifted how you make the decisions you do make.
Because now I'm knowing that if you let folks, they will destroy you.
It's saying it's true. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
Oh man, and I wasn't even in grief, and even in going through all these things about myself, and even in these challenges, I wasn't finna let nobody just destroy me. Not even me, because I was very destructive to myself at the time. And one of my biggest things too is within the confines of my relationship at that time, there was a complaint. Well, you've changed. Of course I've changed.
I was about to ask, what would you do differently now if you had the opportunity to change anything?
The only thing that I would change, the only thing that would be different, and this is speaking prior to my mom's passing, because me and my mom, we had some minor issues, and what really put me at peace was my bishop. He told me, this was I think before even the funeral, or walking into the funeral, he was like, you and your mom, y'all were real best friends. And he said, and best friends fight.
Yeah.
But they never let it linger.
Yeah.
So you and your mom, y'all had some issues, but you ain't never let it linger, right?
And that, with you saying that, it kind of recalls to me just the night before how she came on the couch and
just
hugged and loved on me.
So, in the confines of that, there's another thing that I'm about to say that I probably never said it. Anybody in particular, but so some years before my mom passed, she expressed one night, we were in Bible study, and we were in church, and she expressed one night, I guess the word was good, and she was feeling, some type of way, so she expressed, she essentially apologized to me, but she also expressed that, when she found out she was pregnant with me, she tried everything she could to abort me. Because at the time she had 3 kids, just life was going on. And so she felt like she couldn't afford she couldn't afford, another child, right? And so she did. She said she would save up. I mean, she's telling this story now, mind you, in church, in front of everybody.
It's your first time here.
And this is news to me. You see what I'm saying? So you can call me what you want, but that's just not the way. But let me finish the story. But anyway, so she said that she was really trying. She was trying everything she could, and that she would go to the Planned Parenthood or whatever it was, and they would say, "Oh, it's this much," and she would go and she would work. She would pick up extra shifts and overtime, and then she'd get the exact amount of money they told her, and she'd run back and get to the doctor, and they say, "Oh, they done went up on it. It's an extra 200." You know what I'm saying? And every time she did that about 3 or 4 times. Every time she would do it, by the time she got the money up, it would always be more.
Wow.
Right? And that's nothing but God, right? But
that your life is worth more.
Right. I appreciate that. Thank you for that revelation. And so, she told me that, and then she told me, she really, really did, up until the very last week or 2 of her pregnancy, tried to abort me.
Yeah.
And that, she was sorry, and that she thanks God for me every day. She, sees what my life has become and all that kind of stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And I understand it now, having gone through the life, because after hearing that, I resented her from that point on to the rest of her last bit of life, because I wasn't looking at the positive, number one. I wasn't looking at what she was saying. I wasn't hearing her.
How it was.
How it came out, the why it even came out. That hurt me just to a place of solitude, to where it was like, I don't even know how to feel about you anymore. Because it took for you to say that and say it in front of the church and all this kind of stuff.
And you were how old at the time?
I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I probably couldn't have been no younger than 16, no more than 18 maybe.
Wow.
So it took its toll on me, because it's like, how do you receive that and be like, well, I'm glad you didn't. I love you anyway.
Yeah.
It was real hard for me to receive and hear it and understand it and understand where she was coming from. So I resented her for a long time after that, because, like I say, living a life where my father was not in my life, so I already felt unwanted.
Right.
And hear your mom say,
I didn't want
it was a point in time
Yeah.
that I didn't want you. That was hard.
Yeah.
That was hard to hear. And to hear it in a place where you felt wanted.
Yeah.
I was in the church, and I sang, and I worshiped, and I did all kinds of stuff. And I had my position, and I was over children's ministry, and I was doing so much. And I knew that was a place where I was valued.
Right.
To hear that in the place where you felt the most valued, it was hard. So it took a long time for me to forgive her for that. And even after death, I had to forgive her for that. I never had a chance to give her that conversation and say, you hurt me. I just kept the resentment. I kept the walls. It affected our relationship. It did. Not as much as it could have, because I didn't hate her, or I wasn't like, I'm not speaking to you no more. We still had our spot in your heart. We still had our friendship. We still, had our closeness. We were always close. Anybody who asks, they'll tell you. We were always close. It was just a matter of, now it's just some distance between that closeness for me.
At this moment.
And so if I could change anything, it would have been number one, to have that conversation with her. Because, again, I didn't understand a lot of stuff until, of course, now she's gone, and I don't have that opportunity to give her that conversation. So I didn't understand everything. But now that I understand things a little differently, to have that opportunity to be able to have that conversation with her and say, this is how you hurt me. I appreciate you apologizing, but I need you to accept a little bit more accountability here and work. We're going to have to work.
We're going to work on this together.
Absolutely. So that's what I would change if I could change anything. As far as my actions for what happened when she died and who I called, and I wouldn't change that for not a soul. Granny, uncle, the auntie, no, I don't care. Because I knew what I needed.
Yeah.
I knew what I needed. And especially me having found her deceased. And of course, I heard it. That was ordained for you. Well, sometimes I wish it wasn't. Sometimes I wish it wasn't ordained for me. But if it had to be anybody else, I don't think it could be anybody else. You know?
I'm strong enough that would be able to follow the proper.
To be able to hold on after the experience. To still be able to hold on.
To be tenacious through it all.
Through it all. And so that's pretty much what I would change. If I could change anything, just to have that conversation with her. Let her know exactly how. Because there were times when she would ask me, what did I do? How did I hurt you? And I just was never ever strong enough to just say, you really didn't want me? I'm never strong enough to get that out.
So what is your takeaway for someone who may be listening that you don't know what lies tomorrow?
One thing I can honestly say and be thankful about my mom is that she prepared. She prepared for her death. We didn't have to worry about pretty much anything. We made all the arrangements. All the arrangements got made. Without the financial burden. So my takeaway is learn to accept life for what it is. The Bible is very specific and it calls life a vapor. And that literally equates to here today, gone tomorrow. Or if anything stronger pushes through that vapor, then it's separated, right? That's a vapor. And so you got to accept life for what it is as a vapor. We only have a window of time. And unfortunately, that window of time is appointed, right? And that information is never going to be privy to us.
Right.
So with that being said, I know that the cliche says live every day like it's your last, but not with the understanding that you think. If you're going to live every day like it's your last, then make sure you're prepared for the ones who are still going to be left when you're gone. Make sure that road is prepared, is paved. Make sure those doors, those keys, make sure everything is put in order. Because you never know when it's your last. And I don't mean financially, what I'm literally talking about is your connection. Because for her to give me at least a moment of connection before she left this earth is something that I had to be tenacious about. I had to hold on to that last piece of connection. And I still hold on to that last piece of connection to this very day. And there are so many who leave this earth wishing they had one more hug, one more conversation, one more. So if you're going to live every day like it's your last, that don't mean go blow your money. That don't mean save your money that you can't do nothing with in debt. That don't mean go live recklessly. That literally means make sure that every connection that you make with one to another person is a fulfilling connection. That when you walk out that door, when you walk out that, whatever, when you walk out this door we call life and you're gone, you're not leaving nobody lost. That's hard to do, but be conscious about it. And that's been my goal ever since. I want to love on folks to where they know they was loved by Davion Lewis. My mom had this hug thing. I don't think I had it like that, but you know. But with that in mind, she hugged folks, and that was the thing everybody knew. You know what I'm saying? They knew when they got a Sweeney hug. You see what I'm saying? And I want to leave my mark in that regard. When folks come to my house, I want them to know they was at Davion's house. Yeah. When folks eat my food, I want them to know they eat my food. When folks are embraced by me, when they have a conversation with me, whatever connection piece I have with you, I want folks to know, oh, that was that brother there. I know that. And that's my takeaway. Parents, children, I don't care who you are, we all have to go sometimes. At some point in time, we all have to go. But you need to make sure that every day you are here, you are making connections with your loved ones and even with strangers that will last forever. That's my takeaway. That's my takeaway.
My brother, it's been a blessing, man.
It's been awesome. I appreciate the story. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for sharing, loving. Like I say, we've got, for some great episodes coming up. Next week we'll be talking to Tina Cole, and she will be giving us her story. I won't tell you everything about it, but she'll give us her story. She's a life coach, and she's come a long, long way, so I can't wait for you all to meet her. And thereafter, we'll have plenty of more people who are just going to come in and be a blessing. So if this was a blessing to you as much as it was to me, I appreciate Tony for coming in and guest interviewing and keeping the conversation going. And I also, just appreciate all of you for coming in and listening and hearing my story. And there's many more to come. So, Tony, tell everybody where they can find you.
Hey, again, you can definitely follow us at Exclusive Talk Radio. That's Instagram, Facebook. You can reach me, Antonio Albright, on Facebook, Tony Albright on Instagram. That's, again, Exclusive Talk Radio, Instagram, Facebook, as well as YouTube. So make sure you go ahead and follow us on all those platforms. It's not just music, baby. It's news all across the world.
Yes. And, of course, you all know where to find me. Email, everything is Counsel's Kitchen. Links are all going to be in the bio or in the description of this video or podcast. So you can click direct links to find both Tony and I. And hopefully Tony will be back in a future episode to tell his story. He's got an awesome story.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for this.
Absolutely. I love it. I appreciate y'all. And as always, I tell y'all every single podcast, go and be great.
Yes.
Love y'all. Bye-bye.